What's up guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to get your car track ready. I got an event tomorrow, I'm bringing out the E34. We're going to do a safety check to make sure we're reliable and ready for the track tomorrow. And we're also going to make sure that we're going to get the car ready to pass tech inspection so that we can get out on the track. We're going to check a few things, check all our fluids obviously, check the steering components, make sure everything's good, make sure everything's tight, and make sure we're safe and able to go high speed tomorrow. Stay tuned. First thing we're gonna do is go through the car and we're gonna take out anything that might possibly roll around. Tech inspection, they're looking for anything in the car that isn't bolted down basically. So we're gonna make sure all non-essential items are removed from the car. That includes floor mats. Anything in the trunk that isn't bolted down needs to be removed as well. And obviously all accessories, like on this car I got the aftermarket cup holder and everything, so we're gonna take that out of there and put it somewhere safe. Now I am trailering the car to the event, so it makes it a lot easier because I can take everything out with the car at the house. If you're driving the car to an event, you want to make sure the car is as ready as possible. I mean, obviously you're still going to probably want things in there for the drive there, like the floor mats and whatnot. So we're going to start with the easy stuff. Got this cup holder, this can't be in here. I also got this stuff I'm just going to leave in there. I got a set of ladies sunglasses here, don't ask why. Got some loose change. I put that in our handy factory coin holder, but that's coming out as well. A nice box here to put everything in, and I'll just set this aside somewhere safe. I got a phone charger in here. I actually have this side marker light that I need to put back on. This fell out. Something just fell. This fell out last time I was on the track, actually. Good thing they're not checking door panels. Am I right? Now we're gonna move this seat back. Take out this floor mat here. Rear floor mats as well. Now we can move along to the trunk. Now back here, I got a bunch of tools. Just had a job that I did mobily, and actually, I guess I forgot my lunchbox back here too. That thing probably stinks by now. Basically, all of this stuff needs to come out of here. Trunk is nice and empty, and if you have a spare tire, which I do not right now, you're gonna want to make sure your spare is bolted down as well, but I don't have mine, as you can see. So we're done in the trunk, we can close that. Now the next thing you're gonna want to check is your battery. Make sure your battery's bolted down and the connections are tight. The battery's up under the rear seat on this thing. I'm not gonna pull the rear seat right now to check it. I know that it's tight, but depending on who is going to be inspecting your car, depends on if they need to see the battery physically or not. We're gonna come in here, pop the hood. With the hood popped, we're looking for any major fluid leaks that we might not know about. We're looking for anything that might be loose. Make sure everything's bolted down nice and tight. And for terms of safety, make sure you're checking your hose clamps for the coolant hoses if you can. I had a coolant hose blow off one time on track that was just due to a slightly loose clamp. Check your fuel line clamps, make sure those are tight. We're gonna check our fluid levels, make sure the coolant's up where it needs to be, make sure your oil level's good, check your power steering fluid, brake fluid, clutch fluid, on and on and on. In terms of safety, we're also gonna be checking the condition of our belt, make sure there's not anything last minute that we need to take care of. I actually have a new fan shroud for this, but still not going to install it right now. This plastic weld is actually holding up pretty well. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. I'll put the link up in the top of this video. Just looking around here for any major oil leaks, coolant leaks, anything like that. Now I know my car pretty well. I just did an oil change on this a couple days ago. There's nothing really leaking or anything, but we're just making sure. Last thing you want is the car breaking down, especially if you're driving it there. Luckily I am trailering it there, so if anything happens to it, I got a way to get it home. So actually your power steering fluid is a little bit low. So I did notice some wetness on these power steering hoses. Now these are basically brand new. This is why we check things. I'm just gonna check these clamps, make sure they're tight. Probably our culprit down here. This hose clamp is actually stripped out. Just gonna replace it. That's probably where the source of our leak was coming from for this hose. In case you guys didn't know, you can replace a hose clamp without actually removing the hose. If you just back out the hose clamp all the way, then you can wrap it around the hose and restart the thread. We're gonna go ahead and check our coolant lines. Now I just replaced this heater control valve, so all of these should be tight, but it doesn't hurt to check. Now I'm not cranking down on them, I'm just checking to see if they're loose, so you'll see them all right. Check our main lines, see them all right. When I was looking at this intake boot, I actually saw that this isn't fully seated, so I don't know if this came loose or maybe last time I took it off I didn't fully seat it, but we're gonna loosen this up. There we go. So make sure your intake is tight. Make sure your throttle body cables are routed correctly and tight, especially on these V8s, because you know they have that issue. And we're looking pretty good under the hood, so now we can move on to the suspension. Now I'm not going to be taking the wheels off, but I am going to be checking the lug bolt torque. Then we're going to jack up the front end and we're going to check the tightness of our steering components, make sure there's no play in anything, make sure the bolts for the control arms and everything are tight, tie rods, all that stuff. So torque spec for most of these older BMWs is 88 foot-pounds for the lug bolts. So that's what I'm going to set the torque wrench to right now, and we're going to check all four wheels. Also, don't forget to set your tire pressures. Whether you're driving the car or towing it, you want them set at the recommended pressure, because, or maybe even a little bit higher if you're towing it, because the front tires need to hold the load once it's strapped down. So you don't want to be running track day pressures with the car on the trailer, or at least I don't, because that can compromise the sidewall. Go ahead and jack up the front end. We're going to jack up both sides. This car is a little bit annoying because I got to do one side at a time. You really need to get a low profile jack. But again, the better you check the car now, the less chance you're going to have a breakdown or a safety issue. So let's make sure we check everything, make sure everything's right before we get on track. We're jacked up, we're on jack stands, and I always leave the jack up under just for extra safety in case one of the stands decides to fail, like, you know, the Harbor Freight ones we're doing for a while. These aren't Harbor Freight stands, but I think you get my point. There we go, I got the side marker installed. Now I am actually missing the bulb socket for this, so I will have to order a new one, but at least we got this thing looking kind of right. But I'm also missing a fog light from the same incident. Now that our front end is in the air, we're gonna check the wheel for side-to-side movement. That's good. We're checking for any play or anything. And this is still tight, at least on this side. Go ahead and give the wheel a spin. Take a look at your brake pad thickness. Brake pads are looking spot on. We're gonna come on over to the other side. Do the same thing. Good, looking good. Brake pads are wearing nice and even. Okay, so we got our front end jacked up. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come check these bolts, see if anything looks loose. Now, we're not checking actual torque, so the suspension does not need to be loaded right now. All we're doing is checking to see if anything's loose. Now, I don't think anything's loose because we don't have any play in the wheel or anything, and I'm not having any other symptoms of a loose component, but we're just gonna put a wrench on everything that we can. Check the condition of the bushings, make sure the bushings aren't cracked or anything. This is just a safety check, so it doesn't have to be too in-depth. You just wanna make sure nothing's loose, nothing's spinning around, and if something is actually found loose, then you're gonna wanna load the suspension and torque it to spec. So everything looks good up under the front end. Now we're gonna go to the back end and check everything in the back, make sure everything in the back is good as well. Alright, so everything looks good in the rear as well. Didn't find anything loose, so we are pretty much good to go. Now, another thing you're gonna need to do to get yourself ready for the race is find out what class you're racing in and make sure you write the class number somewhere on the car. So what I'm gonna do is use a paint marker, and I'm gonna put my number and what class I'm racing in. That way they'll be able to identify me when I'm out there. And there we go, got the window paint on. It's not the prettiest, but it's definitely readable. Last but not least, I always take a tool bag with me. I have some commonly used tools in here. Got a screwdriver, got a bunch of wrenches, some 1/2-inch sockets, a little breaker bar, and just some commonly used stuff that I might need while I'm out there. Also, I'll always take a jack with me and some jack stands, and I'm gonna also take this little air compressor and an electronic tire gauge so I can check the pressures and set them to what I want. We are pretty much ready to go, so all I got to do tomorrow is load this thing up on the trailer and then get to the race. So I hope this video helped you guys out. If you're looking to race your 30-year-old car, almost 30-year-old car, this thing is 29 years old this year. Now, this isn't a super serious race, it's just a track sprint, but we'll see what kind of times I can pull. Look out, I plan on vlogging the track sprint, so look out for that video. I think I'm gonna keep this video for prepping the car as a separate video, do the vlog on the entire day of the track sprint. So loading the car up, getting there, and all that, so keep a lookout. As always, please like, comment, subscribe if you like this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.